Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. Today, we are going to talk about Beowulf. Beowulf is generally seen as the greatest literary relic from Anglo-Saxon England. It consists of 3,182 alliterative lines. This means in each line, alliteration was used. And it is one of the few completely survived texts in Old English. Originally, it is a Scandinavian folk story about a hero with superhuman abilities, and it is believed to have been written down between 975 AD and 1025 AD by a monk, or perhaps two monks in the West Saxon dialect of Old English. Today, the original manuscript, which was damaged by fire, but still readable, is protected in the British Museum. Setting in Scandinavia, the poem blends fictional, legendary, and historical. It is a mix of oral and literary patterns. It is neither entirely Germanic, pagan, oral, no Latin, Christian, literate, but a combination of both traditions with the logic and aesthetic of his own. Because the story is pagan and the writer and his audience are Christians. The poem opens with the claim that everybody in the audience already knows the story. So it is a shared and familiar story to the Anglo-Saxon audience. In the first chapter, a brief account of the patriarchal lineage of Hrothgar is given, the origins of the Danes and the great-grandfathers of the current king. In the Germanic tradition, the lineage was quite important. They believed a person's ancestry determined if you can trust that person or not. Noble blood was a necessary trait for being an epic hero. That's why the story begins with the earliest ancestor of Hrothgar, who was Scyld, the first king of the Danes, and in honor of whom the Danes were called Scyldings. Scyldings mean the sons of Scyld. Scyld was a proper king. He was generous and just. As he is Hrothgar's great-grandfather, Hrothgar is also expected to be such a great king. After Scyld dies, the poet depicts the burial that is given to him. His body was placed in a boat along with many jewels, gold coins and other valuable items, including his weapons, armor, and helmet. The boat is sent away to the sea. This is one of the ways that the Germanic tribes sent their kings and thanes to the other world. And here is an example of a Germanic burial. So, although Shield is gone, the poet says he will be forever remembered in songs as a brave, just, and generous king. The Germanic people believed that when Scots composed songs for a hero, when they told the hero's story everywhere they went, that hero was always remembered, and this made that hero immortal. The epic hero is after glory so that he can be immortalized in songs. Indeed, today we are still talking about a hero who lived almost 2000 years ago. This makes Beowulf immortal. The first chapter of the poem starts with the founding of Shield, continues with his heroic achievements, and ends with his death. In this sense, it is like a framework of the whole poem. It indicates that the whole poem will be about Beowulf, his achievements, and his death. In the second chapter, we are introduced to Hrothgar and his magnificent mead hall. Mead was a Scandinavian alcoholic drink made of honey. It was an important drink to keep the Scandinavians warm, especially through deadly winters. A mead hall is the gathering place of the people. It provides warmth, shelter, and protection to the people. In a mead hall, a fire is always burning, and the king holds generous feasts, keeping his people comfortable and well-fed. That's why building a mead hall is a great act of generosity, and it shows how generous and caring a King Hrothgar is. Here you can see pictures of a mead hall, and this is the inside of a mead hall. Hrothgar gives his mead hall the name Heorot, which means heart antlers. A hart's antlers were a symbol of bounty. Hanging heart antlers in the mead hall, the Danes' hopes for bountiful years, throughout which their food and drink are never scarce. So the Danes start living in Heorot peacefully and happily, feasting, singing songs, dancing, and making merry. However, these sounds of happiness attract the evil. The monster, Grendel, who lives in the moors nearby, is awakened and furious. Although it's a monster from the Germanic folklore and ancient pagan beliefs, Grendel's ancestry is a Christian one. He is the descendant of Cain, a biblical figure. According to the Christian creation myth, Adam and Eve, the first humans, are expelled from heaven as they eat the forbidden fruit. As punishment, they are forced to live on earth, a cold and barren place at the time, where you have to earn your living through suffering, completely different from heaven. Eve gives birth to two sons, Abel and Cain, and here is what happens between the two.
In spite of our sin, the Lord has been merciful to us, and he has helped us to have two sons. Abel, can you please help me carry these water jars?
Hey brother, where are you going?
I need to make an offering to the Lord, because I want him to bless my crops.
Wait, you're giving those to God?
He has already made it hard enough for us to grow food. We have to have something to eat.
Lord, I love you so much. I want to give you the best of everything that I have. I pray, Lord, that you will receive my sacrifice. Thank you. Thank you, Lord, for receiving my sacrifice.
Cain, why are you so angry? Your heart is not right. Just do the right thing, and you will be accepted too.
You want me to do the right thing? Oh, I'll do the right thing, for sure.
It was amazing. God was pleased with my sacrifice, and he sent fire down from heaven.
Oh, brother. Would you please come and help me in the fields for a bit?
Looks like a big storm. Maybe we should go home.
Maybe you should go home.
Ugh!
Adam and Eve had many more sons and daughters.
God has given me another son in place of my son Abel, who was killed by his brother.
As you can see, Christians believe that Cain kills Abel because he's jealous of him. Jealousy is one of the 7 deadly sins of human nature, and we owe that to Cain. After the murder, Cain and all the monsters that come from him are forever cursed by God and exiled into darkness. Because of his ancestor Cain, Grendel is casted away into darkness. And just like Cain, Grendel is also a jealous creature. He gets jealous of the merry sounds of the Danes and decides to make life a living hell for them. So the Beowulf poet not only Christianizes the story of Grendel, he also draws a parallel between Cain and Grendel and gives a moral message to his audience. Jealousy is a sin. Also, you should be humble about your wealth and happiness because it may attract the evil. Grendel is not Danish, so although the Danes go there and build their kingdom while Grendel has already lived there for ages, Grendel is considered to be an outsider. He's not invited to the mead hall, and the king does not share the wealth with Grendel. This means the Germanic people were afraid of outsiders, and the outside world, which was full of dangers, those were the times when you were considered old. If you could live more than 35 years, life expectancy was so low because of wars, diseases, and lack of security in the wilderness. Also, from a Christian perspective, not sharing the wealth and comfort with Grendel is an act punishable by God. So Grendel is a monster cursed by God, attacks the mead hall, and punishes the Danes by stealing 1 or 2 men at night, taking them to his lair to devour. The king and his men are completely helpless against Grendel's superhuman strength, but he cannot touch the king because Christians believe that the king is the officer of God in the world. The king is appointed by God and works for God. So Grendel cannot harm the king because of God's protection. So the pagan Danes turn to their idols, which means pictures or statues of pagan gods, at their shrines, making offerings to them and praying for the end of Grendel's attacks. Such practice they used then, the poet says. It means before Christianity. It is also implied that the Danes were pagans because they didn't know of one true God. They hadn't been informed about him yet. Here he says, God they knew not, judge of their actions, all-wielding ruler. No praise could give the guardian of heaven, the wielder of glory. Here you can see 1, 2, and 3 kennings are used to describe God. The Beowulf poet here talks about the devil. Look, he says, the devil from hell, earnestly prayed they, the devil from hell. So he says that the pagans prayed to the devil. Well, he implies that the pagans worshipped the devil, while in fact they worshipped pagan gods. The early Christians associated the pagan gods with demons, followers and servants of the devil. This was called acculturation, and it was a strategy to convert pagans into Christianity. For them, every belief that didn't follow the Christian God was against him. The opposite of the Christian God was symbolized in the devil, so anyone who worshipped pagan gods were considered to worship the devil. Along with adapting some pagan beliefs into Christianity, the Christians also spread this doctrine among pagans to convince them that Christianity is the only path to salvation. The horror continues for many years until Beowulf the Geat, our well-known hero, hears about it and decides to set sail to Daneland to kill Grendel, save the Danes and obtain treasures, fame and glory. Like every epic hero, Beowulf is essentially good-natured. His primary goals are saving people from dire situations and being immortalized in songs for doing that. When he arrives in the Daneland, he is accosted by the coast guard, who is already impressed by the rich look and polite conduct of Beowulf and his men. He thinks that these men must be some elite warriors. We see that the coast guard talks with a poetic rhetoric. He states his purpose, introduces himself, praises the warriors, and then questions the reason why the warriors are in the Daneland. All the while, he uses an elevated language, as he should do when talking to superiors. He talks quite formally. Upon hearing the question, Beowulf opens his word treasure, which is a canning for Beowulf's mouth, and answers the coast guard's questions in an elevated, elaborate, and eloquent style, which indicates that Beowulf is not a commoner, but a highborn. He first briefly mentions his own lineage, as every hero should do when they introduce themselves, and then he states his intention to see and talk to King Hrothgar, who is already an acquaintance of him. Given to Beowulf's advanced speaking skills, which we call rhetoric, the coast guard is not surprised at the fact that Beowulf and Hrothgar know each other. He lets Beowulf and his company pass. From the Coast Guard scene, we understand that advanced speaking skills is an expected trait of the epic hero. An epic hero is not only strong and skilled in combat, but he's also smart and skilled in oration. After another questioning at the gates of the mead hall, Beowulf finally talks to Hrothgar. The king welcomes him quite warmly, and he indicates that he remembers Beowulf from when Beowulf was only a baby. Striplings. It means, stripling means a baby. He heartily praises Beowulf and his well-known strength. He states his belief that God has sent him to save the Danes from the horrors of Grendel. Although he's supposed to be pagan, the Beowulf poet makes him talk like a Christian, because the Holy Creator, apparently a kenning for God, the Christian God. Then Beowulf starts boasting about his brawls and brain, his strength and skills in combat. An epic hero is expected to boast about his skills. It is like giving your CV to a company to which you apply for a job. Beowulf also looks very confident about himself, which is important for us modern people during a job interview. By talking so confidently of himself, Beowulf not only gives an account of his capabilities, he also gives people hope and cheer who are hopeless against the enemy. Hrothgar gets all the more hopeful when he hears Beowulf's boastings. Then Hrothgar remembers Beowulf's father, Ecgtheow, who was in trouble because of a family feud. When Ecgtheow's family refused to pay his wergild, you know, if you remember, it is the compensation fee for the murder he committed, and when his family disowned him, Hrothgar paid it for Ecgtheow, paid the wergild for Ecgtheow. So by doing that, he saved Ecgtheow's life. Although Beowulf himself has no recollection of it, from a Christian perspective, it seems like God sent Beowulf to save Hrothgar and the Danes as a reward for the favor Hrothgar did for Beowulf's father. So the same God who punishes the Danes finally saves them from trouble when the time comes. The message here may be that God is just and merciful at the same time. At night, a banquet is given in honor of Beowulf and his men. Unford, a close relative of Hrothgar, gets jealous of the attention and praises on Beowulf and challenges Beowulf in a verbal duel. He reminds everyone in the mead hall of the swimming contest between Beowulf and Breca, which Beowulf lost. Based on this defeat, Unford suggests that Beowulf will be defeated by Grendel too. Unford's challenge is included in the story for the following literary purposes. 1. The Danes need to hear a proper boasting from Beowulf to trust him and cheer up. Unford's challenge is the kindle of that. 2. The audience of the poem needs to learn more about Beowulf and how an extraordinary hero he is. And 3. Unford's challenge creates suspense. Now everyone is curious what Beowulf will do. The expected boasting of Beowulf's skills immediately follows Unford's challenge. Beowulf explains it was not a contest, it was a friendly competition. Anglo-Saxons had a culture of competition. It was a common sight for two close friends to compete each other to improve their skills. Beowulf tells the reason why he couldn't win. He was attacked by the sea monsters and had to combat them using his sword in the icy cold water for days before he could reach the coast. Such extraordinary, unbelievable, exaggerated, and legendary deeds are characteristics of epic poetry. Beowulf finishes his story with an open insult against Unford. He says, "I have never heard of any extraordinary achievement of yours. If you were a greater hero than me, why is Grendel still bothering the Danes?" Hearing this extraordinary story and Beowulf's witty reply cheers up the Danes and boosts their hope. The queen, Wealhtheow, bears the cup of mead to first the king, then to his retainers, then to Beowulf and his men. This is a unifying act, and it gives the message to the guests that they are trusted and considered to be kin or very close friends. After this demonstration of trust and sincerity, Hrothgar and the Danes leave Beowulf in charge of the mead halls. So, meet me at part 2.